Hello everyone and welcome to the first video in a series about scriptable objects. Today we are going to look at how to create a scriptable object and how to access it from another script. First of all, what is a scriptable object? Scriptable objects allow you to create assets that can contain data, methods, events, and so on. Because they are assets, they are not linked to a game object, as with monobehavior, but they exist at a project level and can be accessed from any scene, like a 3D model, an audio clip, or a material. To create a scriptable object, we'll start by creating a new script. Right-click in the project window, then Create, Scripting, and finally Scriptable Object Script. We then name our file. Here, for example, we'll call it enmydata.so. Here, the SO stands for Scriptable Object, but it's not mandatory to use this naming. Let's take a look at our script. First of all, our class must inherit from Scriptable Object. Then, to be able to create assets in Unity from the Create menu, we need to add the Create Asset menu attributes to our class. This attribute will give us an additional choice in the Creation menu, whether in the Create menu from the right-click in the project window, or from the menu bar, Assets, Create. In this attribute, we can specify the menu name parameter. This parameter is used to define the path in the Create menu. For example, if we define enmydata in the path, if we look at the Create menu, we see that we now have the option of creating an asset with the name enmydata. In the path, you can use slashes to indicate submenus. For example, if in menu name we write scriptable object /enmydata, we see that in the Create menu we have a scriptable object submenu, then enmydata. It is therefore possible to set up several levels to organize the Create menu, with each level separated by a slash. We also have the filename parameter, which lets us define the default name for assets created from this class. For the example, we'll set the default name to enmydata. In the Create menu, if you click to create a new asset of type enmydata, you can see that the default name is the one defined in the Create Asset menu attributes. You can also add the order parameter. This parameter can be used to define the display order in the Create menu. The larger the number, the more the item will be displayed at the bottom of the list, and the smaller the number, the more it will be displayed at the top of the list. You can pass a negative number in this parameter. For the moment, our scriptable object appears towards the bottom of the Assets Creation menu. But if we change the order parameter, for example if we set it to -250, and take a look at the Create menu, we see that we've now placed our item at the very top of the list. So we've just created our first scriptable object, but for the moment it's completely empty. Let's add a public field of type int, which we'll call maxHealth for example. If we select our asset, we can see our public field and the value it contains in the inspector. You can modify this value directly in the inspector, just as you would with a component on a game object. I'm not a fan of public fields, so I'm going to make it private and add the serialized field attribute so that it's still displayed in the inspector. I'm also going to add a read-only public property so that I can access the value of the private field. Now we are going to access the scriptable object from another script. For the example, we are going to create a monobehavior script called enmyElse. In this script, we'll add a field of the same type as our scriptable object, in this case enmydata.so, with the serialized field attribute to display it in the inspector. We'll create a new game object and add our enmyElse script to it. We can now assign our scriptable object in the inspector, either by drag and drop from the project window, or by clicking on the little circle next to the field and then selecting the desired asset. We now have a reference to our scriptable object in our enmyElse script, so we can access what it contains. For example, in the start method, we are going to do a debug.log of the maxElse value. If you test by clicking on play, you can see in the console that the value has been retrieved. To summarize, to create a scriptable object, we start by creating a class which inherits from scriptable objects. We then add the Create Assets menu attributes to create a new entry in the Assets Creation menu. In the body of the class, you can add everything you need, such as fields, properties, methods, events, etc. You can then create assets from the Create menu. You can create as many assets as you like from a single script. To access an asset, add a field of the scriptable object type in the component where you need it, and then assign the required asset in the inspector. Once this reference has been retrieved, the contents of the scriptable object can be accessed. You now have a good idea of how to create a scriptable object in Unity. In future episodes, we'll look at different use cases for scriptable objects and how they can help us structure our projects. And that's it for this video. I hope you found it useful. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask them in the comments. Thanks for watching and see you next time.